Okay, so today we're getting our hands dirty with this.
Nakai Bolt Heaters.
Oh, nice.
Have you heard of these before?
I've heard of them. Yeah, I haven't gotten to use them personally.
Yeah.
But fascinating stuff.
Yeah, so we're diving into these Nakai Bolt Heaters.
Okay.
And we've got some excerpts here. Looks like from a document focused on Nichiboku Ltd.
Okay.
And they are like a big supplier of these heaters.
Sure.
So we're going to figure out what these things are.
Why they're important, what makes them so special.
Yeah.
I'm interested. I mean, I don't know about you, but like...
Bolt heaters, it doesn't sound
immediately like super fascinating, but I have a feeling this is like industrial strength.
like serious stuff.
Yeah, we're not talking about like, you know, the bolts on your car tire or something. We're talking about like massive construction, huge pieces of machinery.
Right, exactly.
And I think what's interesting here is that the concept itself is pretty simple,
Okay.
but it's remarkably effective. If you think about it, if you've got to tighten or loosen a bolt that's, you know, maybe the size of your arm,
Oh, wow.
something that you might find on like a giant turbine or a hydraulic press.
Right.
Doing that manually is a huge undertaking. It takes forever. It's physically demanding.
Yeah.
So Nakai Bolt Heaters use a very controlled application of heat.
To basically make that process a lot smoother. It heats the bolt up, the bolt expands, you can tighten it or loosen it much easier, and then it cools down and contracts, and boom, you're done.
It's like when you heat up metal, it expands.
Exactly.
And then when it cools, it contracts, and it gets like
Exactly.
even tighter than you could ever get it.
Precisely. That's the principle they're working with.
Okay. And so this Nichiboku company,
Yeah.
they offer two main types of these heaters, it looks like.
Yeah.
Flexible and straight.
Okay.
And I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about the differences between
Sure. So imagine you're working on like a really complex piece of machinery
them. Okay.
where the bolts are kind of in awkward positions. You know, they're in tight spaces, maybe they're different shapes, maybe it's hard to get a grip on them.
Uh-huh.
That's where the flexible Nakai bolt heater really comes into its own.
Right?
It's specifically designed for those hard-to-reach spots.
Where you need a little extra dexterity.
Okay.
On the other hand, if you're working with bolts that are, you know, more uniform, easily accessible, that's when you go for the straight type.
Yeah.
It's
So it's kind of like choosing the right tool for the job.
exactly. It's all about having the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't use a screwdriver to hammer in a nail.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's all about, you know, assessing the situation and picking the right heater for the task.
Okay, so the document also mentions something called induction heating technology.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not an engineer. Can you kind of break down
Sure.
what that is and why that matters for these heaters?
Okay. So imagine this. You have a metal rod, right?
Yeah.
And you want to heat up the very center of that rod without actually, like, putting a flame directly on it. That's kind of what induction heating does. It creates heat directly within the bolt itself
Wow.
instead of applying heat from the outside.
Oh.
And what's really cool about this is that it allows for really, really precise heating and really rapid heating, which is essential when you're dealing with something like a bolt because you want it to expand and contract quickly.
Right.
But you don't want to affect all the stuff that's around it.
And that's the beauty of induction.
Exactly.
Okay. So we've talked about what they are, how they work, but why is all this such a big deal?
Like, why does this matter? Is it just about speed, or are there other advantages to using these heaters?
So speed is definitely a factor. I mean, in any industrial setting, time is money, right?
Right.
It goes beyond just speed. The real game changer here is safety.
Okay.
Because you're controlling the heat so precisely, you dramatically reduce the risk of damaging the equipment that you're working on,
Oh, okay.
which can be incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
And even more importantly, it minimizes the risk of workplace injuries, which is obviously something you can't put a price tag on.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it sounds like these Nakai bolt heaters are like really changing how industries are dealing with these massive bolts.
Yeah, absolutely. They're becoming increasingly popular because they offer a safer, more efficient way to handle these really heavy-duty tasks.
So for someone who might be listening,
Who might, you know, encounter this technology out in the field, what would you say is like the key takeaway?
well, I'd say if you see Nakai bolt heaters being used on a job site, you can be pretty sure that that project is prioritizing precision.
Efficiency and worker safety. It kind of shows that they're using, you know, top-of-the-line tools and techniques to get the job done right.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Well, this has been a really eye-opening deep dive, I'd say.
I agree. It's amazing what a little bit of heat can do.
Right. Who knew
Who knew?
that bolt heaters can be so fascinating?
There you go.
All right, well, that's it for today's deep dive. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.